So hello, this is Holly Worton, and I am here with Cara Wilde, Joanna Hennon, and Cathy Ballard. And we're here to do a video about a topic that all four of us have been talking about a lot lately, which is a new style of marketing, because we're very displeased with how everyone seems to sound the same, and everyone's doing the same thing we've been doing for years. So here we are to talk about the possibility of creating something new. So let's see. Old school marketing is over. How do you guys feel about that? It's a really heavy topic. So heavy we have nothing to say on it.
Oh, I have plenty to say. I have plenty to say. And I kind of noticed that old school marketing was over when I basically stopped marketing, because everything that I thought I needed to do or should be doing, it all felt wrong or bad, or I was resisting all of it. So I was like, marketing can't be dead, right? Because as entrepreneurs, we need to market in the sense that we need to let people know what we're doing and talk to people and all these things. But just all the things I was trying to put into place were just feeling really crappy. I mean, I don't have a better word for it, to be honest. It's not very elegant, but that's just the way it was.
Yeah, and I think we've all been there where we're either taught to do things to market our businesses, or we learn things from our coaches or our business mentor, and they don't quite feel right.
Or they're really complicated.
Yes.
That's the thing for me, is there seems to be, I think it's really useful to have, for me, some kind of structure or model to follow. But there's so many different versions out there that it all got really complicated and overwhelming. And so into the minute detail of absolutely everything that I did, felt like, I'm going to do this right and we're going to do that right. And I knew from a beliefs point of view, that's what we kind of come from, the beliefs point of view, that if I thought, oh my God, I can't possibly sell anything unless I do all of this, my beliefs are going to be, I can't possibly sell anything. Yeah. And I'm overwhelmed. And I just wanted something that was more streamlined, because that's where my sense of ease comes from. And I'm sure, most of us, a business is something that we're really passionate about, but it's not the only thing in our lives. And trying to juggle everything, I needed something streamlined. And so I started trying to find people to follow that would make sense to me. And it's like, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And the way of talking just made me feel rubbish about myself. If you're not doing this, then you're not a proper entrepreneur, or you're going to miss out. And that just started to feel, I just felt bad about myself as a business owner. And that's why I wanted to look at something else.
Well, it's like that hustle mentality. You've got to hustle, hustle, hustle to get clients.
Yeah.
I found that with working with other coaches, that they felt like they were lovely people, really heart-centered people, and so I really connected with them, but because I came from that perspective of, well, they know and I don't, so giving your power away, and then also I found that while I worked with them, it did seem to work, but as soon as I was on my own, it was like, oh, well, I'm out of their energy field, so to speak. I'm back on my own, and it's not natural for me. So it's like pushing rocks uphill. So then I'd be thinking, well, it must be me, I'm not doing it right. And so I'd go and look for the next coach to work with, and the same thing would happen. And it's not to say that they're doing anything wrong, because it really works for them. If it's your style to work that way, that's brilliant. But I think there's a lot of us that particularly in the sales kind of strategies that have hidden sort of NLP type influencing in, that, like you just talking about then, Cara, that sense of fear of missing out, or there's some like subtle influences around, if you don't get it now, then you're going to completely miss out. If you or what are the other things that they do, like the fast action stuff, so you get in a panic if you don't plan out. There's lots of it, and it always felt, and the pain points thing, like really hammering home making someone feel really bad in the pain points. Now, I think it's really important that people recognize themselves in that they've got, you know, yes, this is talking to me, this is where I'm at, and she gets me. That's one thing, but really, I think it's where you're coming from is the important thing.
Because the thing, that whole thing got so technical. Like, I remember one particular coaching session where we spent a full hour basically with this woman rewriting my sales page. And I had written it from the heart, but, you know, the headline wasn't specific enough. And then she thought I should move this up there and that down there and then rephrase this. And then there was too much text in my bullet points. And we spent, so I mean, that was what, like, you know, $300, but for her to rewrite my page in a way that it wasn't me anymore. Like, it wasn't me talking. And I remember thinking, this can't be. Like, everybody's saying that the pages need to be structured in this way, and the headlines need to be structured in this way, and promise this thing and whatever. But I'm like, if that's not your natural way of presenting what you do, there has to be another way. There has to. I can't even accept that there isn't another way.
Well, and the thing is, the people who are going to buy from you are going to resonate with you and your language and your style and your energy. So if you've got someone else writing your sales page, the people are going to resonate with that energy, not with your energy.
Yeah,
I think it takes a skilled coach to be able to combine, I guess, working with your energy, like you do when you're working with a client. It takes skill to bring out that client and support him in a framework. So for example, like with like marketing's like weight loss. There's loads of different ways of doing it, and the skill to get inside your client and really understand what their motivations are, what their end results are, what kind of personality they are, and what's going to fit for them. So I think that it's called cookie cutter approach, doesn't it? It's just like a diet.
Yeah.
So marketing starts to feel deprived, you know,
love
deprived. That. Yeah, I think I compare everything to food.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it feels like, actually. That this way will work for everybody. So if you count calories and you do this much exercise, you'll lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's that guru star energy we've been talking about. My way is the right way for everyone because I've got the blueprint. As opposed to the truth guide energy, which is, you know what's best for you. Let me help you figure that out, what that is.
Yes, that's a very good way of describing it. I was falling for the guru. And
but that was the main model out there, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. And it's so compelling because they're so magnetizing.
We want that. I mean,
yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if you could actually pay somebody $5,000 and they would give you a model and that would work for sure?
Yeah. It's so tempting.
Yeah, who doesn't want that certainty in every single thing? Yeah,
I think we still need. You were talking about having some kind of framework, though. I still think that's really. It's finding a framework that fits, so that and I guess it doesn't even fit every time either. It's you've got to have something that's quite flexible that you can work with that delivers what you need. So you don't like. I mean, you got to. There's a certain level of technicality that you need to learn, but there needs to be just an easy, more natural way to do that. Yeah.
And I think the important thing is it needs to be your framework, not someone else's framework.
Oh, you can start with someone else's. Sorry, Cara.
No, it's fine. Go on.
You can start with somebody else's framework. Like this, I feel like this is why the intuitive side of it is so important, because you can take the framework, and I mean, Cara, you said that as well, that like you find it useful to have a model or something to start with, and I find that useful as well. I like that kind of thing. I like a step-by-step thing. But then, like at the beginning of my business, I didn't have the confidence to say, well, maybe that's not going to work for me, or I don't really like that, or I don't want to do it this way. So I would just follow the framework, and then it didn't work, and I would blame myself, and that was a whole cycle. Whereas now I can buy the framework and take what feels good to me and then tweak it and make it my own, right?
I think one surprising thing that really showed me a lot is when I came across the business, like a mentorship that I'm in at the moment, which is no woo at all, not they are intuitive, but it's not overtly intuitive. It's not that kind of, it's very traditional approach to business in a way, but for entrepreneurs and online, for any kind of area. And I was surprised to get the impulse to follow their work. And then there was one experience I had, which I was doing a piece of homework that they'd set. And it was about really diving deep into your ICA, you know, your ideal client and everything. But the thing that happened to me is when I was doing it, I felt nourished. And that's the first time I'd ever had that experience. It all seemed to come from my head and it stripped me. Going back to that diet thing, it was like being on Weight Watchers, you know, my opinion, crap food. And it just stripped me. Whereas this was like really nourishing for me. And it was that was like, whoa, I can feel like that about business and putting a plan together and marketing. And what I learned from that is it's really focused on service. And that is where I started off in business before I got sidelined with the guru stuff. So that combination for me of focusing on service and following what excites me and interests me is the key. But that shocker that it can actually nourish me, that really surprised me.
It's sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's difficult to know. Like, I don't want to cut anybody off, like when you're talking. But I just wanted to say that I think it's really important, like when we're talking about, and you know, the idea that we may need a new model or a new way of marketing. Like, it doesn't mean that we're rejecting completely the old model. Like, it's just finding new ways of working with all sorts of things. Like, it doesn't need to be an either or thing. Like, I talk a lot about not doing that at all, the choice of either or, but doing and. And this is, for me, it's one of those situations, because it doesn't mean if we want to be more intuitive and more service-based and all these things, or service-focused and come from that space, it doesn't mean that we're rejecting all the old stuff. It's just finding a new way of using it, maybe.
Yeah, it's about picking and choosing what works for you. Yeah, I think.
So how do we do that in this field of like noise? And I don't know that we can necessarily answer all of that question, you know, so that kind of, what does this look like? How do we begin to choose what to follow, what to apply, what to leave behind? And I think the guiding principle for me is, I know we keep saying it's about what feels good, and sometimes it's not that straightforward, is it? Because sometimes it feels uncomfortable. And, you know, there's parts of you that's going, oh, no, don't do this, and all that imposter syndrome and everything that we know about. Yeah. And I suppose that's why I mentioned the nourishing key, because I want to be somewhere that feels like it nourishes me and where I could add value, you know. So that's what I like about us, is it nourishes me, but I feel like I can add value too. So it's like, it's both. That's a kind of guiding principle for me.
Well, I think it's really important what you said about it feeling good. And I think it's important to be able to tell the difference between something feels good or it doesn't feel good because it's right for me or it's not right for me. But then sometimes things are right for you, but they're outside of your comfort zone. So you get those wobbles. So it's kind of a different feeling of it's not right for me when it's right for you, but outside of your comfort zone, as opposed to wrong. And it's a very fine line between the not feeling right feeling. And I think we need to really tap into what that feels like for us so that we can know and have that inner compass.
Quite often it's a feeling of the not right for you feels like a wall, and the right for you but a bit scary feels like it's a bit more spongy. So you can push it, and then you can sort of break through it. And also when you get to that edge of, oh, okay, this is a bit scary, the feeling of scary is also the feeling of excitement. So if you can turn that around in your head and push through it. But I think the feeling good thing for me when it's worked in surprising ways has been when I've just gone, I'm just going to go and do something and have fun and see what happens. And also something that has happened a lot more recently was like a bit of like a light bulb moment of I realised I'd been giving and giving and giving of what I thought would serve people, and then it was pointed out to me by someone. Someone pressed my buttons, and I was thinking, "Oh, how dare you do that?" And I saw the mirror in them was that what they showed me essentially was I was giving information and content, but I wasn't giving me. It was about sharing my heart and my struggles, like we're talking about here, the struggles of, well, you know, we're going through this change and we're trying to find our way. And I think so many people can relate to that. So it's just being open and being real. I think that's a big part of what this new marketing is.
And that's the being enough thing. I'm laughing because I just experienced exactly that this morning, Cathy. And like, for me, it's about commitment to the path, right? So what does this look like? Like, it's difficult sometimes to really be confident about what feels good and doesn't feel good, because as you guys said, it doesn't always actually feel good. It might feel a bit scary or a bit, uncomfortable. But like what I have done is that if I say, okay, I'm committed to this path, so then I tune in and I feel what needs to be done, and then it's my choice. But then, like, if I don't do it, then I know I'm not committed to the path, and I won't move further. And then this morning when I was when I wrote down what I wanted to share, my first thought was exactly, this is just my story. Like I was called to share my channeling journey, and this is just my story. And my thought was, but I'm not teaching information. Like, should I have, 3 points that you can take from this and move forward on, or something? I'm like, what if this is not enough? What if this is not interesting enough or useful enough or anything? Like, am I just contributing to the noise?
Yeah. And what I'm learning as well is that, like, in that information overload, a bit like you were saying, Cathy, that you were given information thinking that was service, and I think there's still a role for that. But in my experience of the courses that I offer, it's people want connection. We're starved for connection and implementation. So, and it's not from that get results now, kind of like implement, hustle. It's like, I have got all this information in whatever service industry you're in, whatever service area you're in. I've got all this information. I'm kind of on my own via social media, and so I'm looking for connection, and I'm looking for ways of how do I implement this? How do I make it real? How do I make it happen? How do I make it tangible? And so what I'm seeing in what my clients are asking of me is actually making me think about changing the models that I'm offering, because that, if you're an entrepreneur right now, the biggest thing is online courses are making the money, that, and that's the big thing, and I still think there's validity in that, but it's what you do with those courses, how you help your clients through that process and how you support them. It's a lot more involved, and I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, I think to pull this all together, to me, as you said, it's about connection. So instead of manipulating people into buying our stuff, it's about connecting with people. It's about sharing our story. It's about showing up. It's about being visible. It's about just talking and sharing, and people will connect with that.
Because we want meaning and satisfaction.
I think there's something that's come up with pretty much every one of my clients is they might come in thinking that they want what they think they should want, so sort of thing. So they've got this idea of, well, I want this because I don't have it, and so therefore I'll go and work with a coach to help me get that and get through my blocks and everything. But by the end of the journey, what they're taking away, the key takeaway, is that they trust themselves, that they trust that they're in a process, that everything will be okay, and that they have what they need on the inside. So it was, it's not about going for that like one goal thing in the end. It's something that they're learning about who they are, and maybe that's kind of something that we need to bear in mind when we're sharing our stuff and what we're putting out there as well.
For me, the trust is a huge part of it. Like that's what when I mentioned like that commitment to the journey, the trust piece is super important, because then you show up and for yourself, you show up and, and tune into what you should be sharing or teaching or whatever. But then you have to trust what comes, right? So that trust, you have to trust that whatever you feel is the right thing for you to talk about today will actually get you to the place you need to be to experience the things that you're meant to experience, or that you're aiming for, or whatever that looks like, however you phrase that for yourself. So that trust is that's like the most important piece, right?
Yeah. And it's also trusting that you're good enough, as you said earlier. Like, is sharing my story good enough? Yes, it is. And
I think that the trust bit is the bit that's missing, or the self-trust, as you going into buying a program with a coach or some other kind of business service, is you want to go in there, and this is the guru style thing, that bit of trust is missing in the guru style thing, because they're taking it for themselves to get you through that, rather than empowering you to do it, and knowing that, oh yeah, I can do this now, I know what I'm doing. And that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think it goes back to like authentic marketing. Yes. And I know that that's like such a buzzword, and I see people use it. I see people using I'm authentic, and they're just not. They're just, like, and people that kind of understand, the whole Brené Brown work about vulnerability and overcoming shame and being transparent, and people really do respond to that because we want connection. So when I'm vulnerable in the same way that you're talking about, and I can think, why do people want to know this when it's just about me and my journey? What benefit is that? I have been surprised by the feedback, like you're saying, that's come back. But I think it's got to be really authentic marketing, and I think that's getting a bit of a bad rap, because I'm like the kind of person, I want to see the best in everybody. And I know that everybody's on their own journey, but really, honestly, where some people are on their journey really is not good for me. Right, you stay over there with the manipulating authenticity and manipulating it. And I think it's really, I need to know that when I'm thinking about pitching a service, all that stuff's going through my head. And I think we need to be aware of that for our clients on our own marketing, and kind of really have that empathy to people when they're shopping, because it's a scary thing choosing who to work with. It is a vulnerable thing, trusting the person's got your best interests at heart.
The authentic marketing, I think, is it's like a whole topic in itself, because like nobody would say they're not authentic online, right? Everybody is saying they're being authentic, and that's the huge thing. Like, anybody who teaches marketing or business is saying connection, authenticity, all these things, and yet, like, most people aren't telling the full stories. Most people aren't actually telling. People are telling the glossy versions of stories, and this is why I haven't told the story of me quitting my job to run my business full time, because there are so many other factors that I could easily, follow that train and be like, look at me, super successful. I quit this great job and now I run my business full time, and hire me and I'll help you, that kind of thing. But that's not. There are so many other factors in my life that have allowed me to do that. But that's not the story. And I find that people are leaving these bits out that actually are a big influence on the overall picture, and just telling the glossy bits and then saying they're being authentic, and then you're kind of going, oh, not really. When you find out, you're like, oh.
That reminds me of when you go to, you have people doing talks, and that they're going to do a little webinar or something, and then there's a sales pitch coming up, and they always use an example of their clients like testimonials, saying they went from 0 to 6 figures in 3 months, just as an example. But it doesn't, and it's totally true. Some of these things totally are real and honest claims, but the client who did that journey we don't know what the rest of their journey was like. We don't know if they're used to working with high-end clients themselves, and that's just actually a piece of cake for them to make that leap. So yeah, we're not given the full story, and I just think that is something that always annoys me.
And that's the challenge, isn't it? Just really quick, that's the challenge when I'm thinking about putting my, my current mentorship program together that I'm kind of revamping. It's so dependent on where the client is, so dependent on their willingness, so dependent on what happens as when we come together. When we come together, what's in the mix? There's so much that all I can do is give examples of things that have happened in the past. But this promised results stuff is really complicated, because I do want to offer the end results to my clients, but I can't 100% guarantee that, and I don't always know exactly what's going to happen until we're in the room, and it starts to work out over a period of time as well. Because the thing that I'm really frustrated with that happens with, in particular, I saw this with the FT, like when you do work properly with the FT, you don't get the one-hit wonders. They're few and far between, but they're the ones that are the glamour. They get the glamour. And so when people don't get the results that they were expecting, they either think there's something wrong with them or there's something wrong with the product, when actually it's just been sold wrong. So letting people know that some of this transformational change that I know all of us take people through that, takes time, and it takes a willingness to dig in and dig deep. And I think that in our particular field, I don't know about you, but I think that's one of the particular challenges that's unique to us, maybe.
And I think it's... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's interesting that often when people come for like maybe a one-off thing, they do get a shift because everything's so close to the surface for them that it's ready to go. But that's only just like the really thin layer of where they're at. But
so they'll get some...
They want bigger changes over, like real significant change. You have to take time to do that, because life will bring you the learnings, and it's more about us helping them interpret what life is bringing in lots of ways, isn't it? And helping them. That's the way. Yeah.
So I wanted to point out the importance of the fact that we're all pioneers in this, in finding a new way forward with marketing and finding what works for each one of us. So we need to kind of take risks and play, and as a lot of you have said, experiment, see what works for you. Is there anything else that we need to add before we move on a little bit as to what new marketing might look like? I mean, I feel like we're still learning.
I don't think there's an answer yet, is there? It's all experimentation.
Yeah, it's like we're in the middle of a big transition, and I think maybe in X amount of time we'll be like, we'll be able to kind of look back on the journey and be like, that all made sense. But right now we're like in the messy middle.
We're still at that place where we know what we don't want, but we're not quite sure what we do want. And it's going to be, that's the thing, isn't it, though? It's going to be unique to everybody, because it has to be fitting you. So it won't have one particular look, maybe.
So what doesn't new marketing, or the kind of marketing that you want to do, look like to you? Like, what are some things that just don't feel right for you anymore?
I don't want to make people feel bad. So I got a freebie the other day. I showed you guys the buttons, right?
Yes, please.
I got a freebie the other day. So I got the freebie, and then on the thank you page there was an upsell. And the choices on that page were either basically like, yes, I'll take it, or I'm not ready for big success. I'm like, are those really my only choices? Like, I hate that, because it makes me feel bad. It makes, not really anymore. Now it just makes me go, for fuck's sake.
Roll your eyes.
Yeah. But it used to make me feel bad. And I think a lot of people, are meant to feel, this is the thing, the intention behind it is to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
And that's really, for me, that's out of integrity. So that I don't, in my marketing, I don't want anybody to feel bad.
That's
Yeah,
the
it's an
thing.
invitation.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want it to be an invitation with no attachment. And just an invitation.
Because this old style marketing and those kinds of buttons, and I know we've all seen different versions of them, it's either A, you buy this thing and you'll be successful, or B, you don't buy this thing and you're a total loser and you're gonna fail. So, you know, and that's, no one wants to feel like a loser. Everyone wants to feel successful. They want success. So it's so manipulative.
I think I like the concept of giving people the idea of possibility of what could be, you know, if they start thinking about doing this kind of work, what they could step into, so that it's much more expansive, rather than, well, if you don't do it, then this and this is going to happen, and which is attractive, and then you get into fear, and that's the motivation to buy it. Yeah. But
so it's like the freedom to, rather than the like fear from. You know, you've got the freedom to, the invitation and the freedom to make these changes, rather than you need to run away from this.
Yeah.
You know, it's a completely different energy. And I think we need to accept that not everybody's going to respond to that. So there are some people who are motivated by pain, you know, who are motivated by fear. I've never been one of those people, and that's not always served me either. I could have paid attention a lot sooner. But I think we need to like really drop that idea that I don't think any of us believe that we're for everybody. But our marketing won't make sense to everybody. It won't resonate with everybody. And I think it's kind of what you were saying, Holly. It's like being a channel feels like you're on the leading edge of something, or just like in this weird space, you know, that's not well populated. And I think this marketing might feel like that as well, that we're in this weird space that's not well populated, but it makes sense to us, and it feels good and it feels right. But it's not gonna work for everybody.
Exactly, and that's exactly how it should be. Yeah. Like, I don't want everyone to want to work with me, because I'm not going to be a good fit for everyone. So I don't want to manipulate the wrong people into working with me. I want it to be about, are we a good fit? Then let's do it.
I find that really hard, because I completely agree, and of course I don't want to manipulate people into working with me, but I do have this side of me, to be perfectly honest, which is like, well, we don't know what this new system looks like, and there's a bit of there's a trust element there as well, you know, that following this path will actually also give me success, or the things that I want, and whereas there's this once in a while, like when I get down, then I am motivated by the fear, because then I'm like, well, clearly what I'm doing isn't working. Like, we know those low points, you know, those days, you know. So what I'm doing today is not working, but these people are killing it with the system. So maybe I'm wrong, and I do need the system, right? So there is a bit of trust and courage to like not keep falling for the system. Like, if you're really committed to creating something new, or really committed to doing something in a new way, then to like stay with that and trust that it will also prove to be a good system for you. Like, you will still get the success, right?
I think that's so funny as well, because we've been well, speaking for myself, we've been taught certain ways of doing it, and so that when you do go into that wobble, it's an automatic default to go into, oh, well, I must be doing it, I need to go into creating this kind of a framework, because that's what I should be doing, and without even really thinking about it, it's just slipping into the old way, and then you find out, well, it didn't work again. It's like, go.
So from an old system to new system, like it's really easy to think about marketing when you're not comparing it to marketing, I think. So home education, right? This is a conversation that happens a lot in our community of home educators. You leave school, so you're leaving a system, and you're terrified as a parent. And sometimes you just go, I'm not doing any of that old system. And sometimes, and that works for some people, but it really don't work most of the time. Or then you go to, oh my God, I need to do it exactly like the system and research syllabus and stuff like that. And I think it's the same process. And what happens in the home ed community is you find a way that works for your kids, their unique needs, your unique situation as a parent, your unique skills, and and tapping into other skills and other things. But I think the thing about this paradigm that we're going through is everything's crumbling. Education, marketing, diet, whatever it is that we're looking at, it's crumbling, and nothing new has really replaced it yet. And what the new thing that seems to be appearing in everything is about attending to uniqueness and diversity. And we're not used to it. And it's all right that we lean back and fall back on old structures sometimes, and we might take some of what works with us. And so, yeah, I think it's just useful to look that this is not the only model that it's happening in.
That's really interesting, because that it's just part of something bigger. And for me, that it's again the trust piece that's key, because if we don't have a system to use, like a blueprint to use, then all we have is ourselves, right? And then each other in conversations like this. And we have to trust that what we feel is the right step, whether it's when we're home educating our kids, or eating, or marketing our business, whatever, that what we feel is the right thing for us is the right thing for us, even if everybody is saying that you shouldn't have any gluten or meat or dairy. Right?
I think one of the other things about this with the trust thing as well is the being really truthful in what you're saying that you can achieve. And like we talked about the testimonial thing, to give the whole picture and to not glamorize it, but to actually be quite real. Because if there's a lie in there that's even just a bit of a lie, it's out of integrity, and you won't trust yourself. So everything is quite transparent for you, for your clients. And I guess that maybe that as you consistently put that message out, the more you do marketing, the more people, it's about visibility, isn't it? The more people get to know what you do, and they'll trust that because you're consistent with it.
And I think that's why us four are kind of falling back on our guides, and our inner being, for want of a better word. But we're navigating this through connecting to something that's bigger, and there's, for me, that's an authentic thing to do, and it's not the only thing that I rely on either. But I think it goes back to that trust piece that Cathy was talking about. And if you're in alignment with that, your higher self and your guides are around you, and they're supporting the message, and it's kind of needed, that's really important to me. I know it is to you too. You three, sorry. Working with our guides and getting information about marketing from our guides is, that's where we're going, isn't it? That's that's our structure, or our, headmaster.
So is there anything else we need to share about what this new marketing may not look like?
I think I'd already started going into the next bit, really.
The next bit is pretty much just wrapping it up. So
I thought it was more what it was going to look like, or the next part of the conversation.
Okay,
maybe.
So what's the next part of the conversation then to you?
Do you know what? If people are going to get involved in this conversation, I would like to have a discussion around what authenticity means to people, how they recognize it, what that looks like, how we know, how we as customers identify who we want to work with, and how can we learn from that in terms of what we need to provide for our clients too and our customers.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, Cara. Like, I think about that a lot, because I don't actually, when I hire people, let's put it this way, the best people I've hired, or the people who have brought me the most growth, I hired on just instinct, like without even barely, like I was talking about this to someone yesterday. Like sometimes I don't even read the sales page, like 'cause I just know that this is the right person for me. Whereas when I've hired people from the logical space of, I now need funnels, I need someone to teach me how to do funnels, that's never worked well, ever. Like, I always ended up super frustrated, and it just felt in the end like a total waste of money, even though obviously it wasn't, because there was learning and whatever, but like it felt like it didn't give me what I wanted, and it certainly didn't give me the growth in the same way. But then so if I know that I make my best buying decisions based on instinct, it would follow that I would be able to market, that way to the people who would be attracted to me. Whereas then I get stuck in but no, other people buy based on logic, right? So I have to have these things in place. That's a really interesting discussion, I think.
For me, most of my clients tell me that they buy or they bought programs on that way. It was an intuitive thing. They might not have seen what I'd written or anything, and I've spent days writing so what happened was they saw me on a live stream, or they saw me doing a talk somewhere, or we just met somewhere at an event, and that usually seems to be the way. So again, it's a bit like just showing up and being you and being real. Yeah. So how do we do that? How do maybe we just need to be out there more of the time, showing up on video, because in person, because that's kind of the realist way of getting your energy across, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about showing up, getting out there, telling your story, and following your intuition as to which stories we need to be telling. I think
that takes some picking.
Yeah, well, and it's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility to trust ourselves, listen to our intuition, talk to our guides, that kind of thing, rather than looking outside of ourselves and looking for that guru. It puts all the responsibility on us to do it.
Yeah. I've got it. Instinctive marketing.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, that's something
I like that. Making notes.
So the conversation is, how do we learn to follow our instincts out? Like Joanna, when you said about that, your process, and you follow it, it's like there's something in there like that allows you to do that intuitive instinct reaction thing that probably just in that moment seems like it's just, oh yeah, but I just decided, but it won't be. There'll be a backstory to that. So that might be useful to unpick.
Yeah, that might be. That's a good
topic for our next video.
Yeah.
A kind of a structure, not like a physical structure, but a questioning structure by which you go through. I don't even know if I've got this formed in my head enough, but that you have an idea, and then you kind of do the internal questioning about how does this go this way, or this way, and you've got your questions already preset, so that you get that internal sense of yes, no, or heavy in light, or whatever it is for you. And then there is just a set, like a process that you could set up your own framework that way. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. You are.
So the new questioning, like, what I'm hearing is that there is logic to it, but there's also a lot of being in touch with your body, listening to the feedback that comes from your body, your emotions as well. So how do we combine all of that to give us that instinct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and those processes can be different for everybody as well, right? Like, I know, like, for example, when I set out to create a new program or something, like, I don't start with a sales page. I actually start with a blank A3 sheet of paper and crayons and markers and stuff. And that's all I do is just ask for guidance. And I just jot down anything that comes to me, any phrasing, any words, any ideas, any whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I create based on that. So that's kind of my way. And then maybe I mess it up by adding logic to it and putting it into a sales page.
No, there's a place for it though. There is a place for logic.
Yeah, but it's just like, as you said, like that balance of like, how do we actually put all those things together? And
yeah, because you're describing a whole brain process there, aren't you? Which I think I think maybe it's whole brain marketing with instinct sales. Whole brain marketing with instinct sales, I don't know. But it is, I think we operate in a more holistic, whole brain way. That's what makes sense to us, and probably what will make sense to the people that we are best fit to work with as well.
Yeah.
Those logic steps that you started, Joanna, you were talking about starting off with a really creative process where you're completely open and then the ideas are coming through. And then it's about taking the logic and then testing the logic where you've got different options and feeling which feels right. And then, okay, so this is the one that feels like it's got the most light and energy to it. And then you go through the next creative process. And then again, then you let the logic come in and you ask again. I think as we're talking, it's getting clearer in my head.
So is there anything else anyone would like to say before we wrap this up?
I actually want to just, whoever's listens to it, to this in the end, like we talked a lot about that tuning in and sharing your story and all that kind of thing. So I just want to share like what we've been doing, or what we've committed to maybe is starting our day with that, right? Is to ask the question, like, what am I meant to teach today? What am I to teach today? What am I to share today? And whatever comes to you, trust that and go with it, and just maybe play with that. If anybody wants to, hasn't yet but would like to play around with these things, that's a really nice place to start. And maybe create a blog post based on that, or do a live stream, or just do a Facebook post, or whatever, however small or however big you want it to be. And that's just a nice place to start, I think.
Excellent.
I put a blog out last week about all of this kind of stuff that's been going on, just to see what the response would be like. And I think it's probably one of the most highly responded to blogs I've ever done. So there's a lot of people who are interested in this. And I know that we kind of just thought, well, we'll do this just as a recording between the four of us and then see what happens. But I would love for this somehow to be, we can open this up and get the discussion going in a bigger way.
Yeah.
See what comes. So anyone listening, please, comment, get in touch, and we'll see how we can create something that we can all contribute to in some way. Add your voice.
Bigger conversation.
Yeah. Excellent. And so you can get in touch. Did you want to say something, Cara?
No.
Okay. All right. So you can get in touch. These are our websites: carawilde.com, cathyballard.com, hollyworton.com, joannahennon.com. We're obviously not a perfect example of this new intuitive marketing paradigm. I'm still doing the old stuff too, as I'm trying to find the new way. So feel free to follow us on social media, on our websites, join our Facebook groups, whatever. But know that we are in this process of transition just as much as you are, and we're still finding our way. So it's something we're all going through. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect, yeah.
All right. So if you're watching this recording, thank you so much for joining us, and be in touch.